Project Chanology was so insane that it sparked a brutal war between some of the most powerful entities known to mankind. It paved the way for Anonymous to become one of the main voices of the internet.
We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
And it uncovered some of the deepest and darkest secrets of the Church of Scientology. Both organizations did their finest to defeat the other, but only one group in the end could come out and actually say they were victorious. Strap in, because this story will take us on a wild ride that will rewind time back to 2008, when things were simpler and Project Chanology was on the horizon of being something great. The Church of Scientology would be enigmatic for many years, stealthily staying quiet outside the spotlight of the general public. Although Scientology would soon become a common household name, when various top-tier celebrities and high-profile individuals began to get intertwined in the group. Tom Cruise, a well-known A-list celebrity, got deeply involved within the Scientology community. What made it interesting, though, is his need to share his love for Scientology and religious awakening with the world. Tom Cruise became Scientology's biggest advocate. Although people began to question his sanity when he would have these bizarre appearances, he quickly made headlines across the globe during his appearance on The Oprah Show, embarrassing himself in one of the most unique ways possible.
First of all, thanks for coming to my Legends Ball with Katie. Was that the best fun? Was that? Yes, yes! What has happened to you? I've never seen you behave this way before.
I know.
Have you ever felt this way before? We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
What was the question again?
We're talking about War of the Worlds.
I'm a hugger, you know what I mean?
I know.
I give it-
Yes, yes. Yeah, and when you've been hugged by Tom, you've been hugged.
Even though he quickly became the laughingstock of the internet, it only seemed to make him more sporadic and unreasonable. Tom Cruise thought of himself as awakened through what he learned in his experiences with Scientology. He even explained this in another irregular interview.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and it's something that you have to earn. And because a Scientologist does. When I read it, I just went, this is it. It's exactly it. I looked at them, and I thought, oh, what a beautiful thing, because maybe one day it'll be like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day it'll be that. Wow, SPs, like, they'll just read about those in the history books, It's rough and tumble, and it's wild and woolly, and it's a blast. It's a blast. It really is fun.
Even though Tom Cruise helped bring Scientology to the mainstream media, its teachings were still unknown to the average person. There was one more final push that really got people to understand what Scientology was all about. South Park released an episode called Trapped in the Closet, which was essentially dedicated to making fun of Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology. Although this gave the public exposure to the unusual ideology that Scientology was fundamentally built on. The producers of South Park thought the beliefs were so insane that they even had to put labels on some parts of the episode which read, "This is what Scientologists actually believe." The episode wound up being a massive success. Even compared to other South Park episodes, which are all also wildly successful, this one in particular is ranked in the top 10 South Park episodes of all time. Soon, people from all walks of life now knew what Scientology was all about, and a vast majority thought it was absolutely ridiculous. This episode was the birthplace of all types of memes, which would make Scientology even more of a mockery than it already was. People on the internet were even creating websites that made fun of Scientology and its beliefs. One of the main actors on the show, Isaac Hayes, would condemn South Park for making fun of his religion, which was Scientology. This controversial clash would catch the attention of news agencies, making this specific episode blow up even more than it already did. Like most fads on the internet, it was just a matter of time until the Scientology memes and disdain were to fade away back into obscurity. Although, this is where the Church of Scientology made a fatal mistake, one which would cement itself as one of the biggest missteps in internet history. They decided to do the unthinkable and fight back against the internet's fun. They claimed that some of the photos used in sites and forum posts infringed on their copyrighted material and demanded that it be taken down. They even got some of the Tom Cruise videos taken down from YouTube, claiming that they were both pirated and edited. Scientology then threatened legal action against anyone who defies them. This would only anger the internet, deepening the animosity towards the Church of Scientology. Websites and forum posts were still taken down, some out of fear of litigation and others by force. Although the internet was working overtime, and the speed of new content would be too fast for the Church of Scientology to handle. Soon, a change in atmosphere around the subject of Scientology would occur, as one specific website would come to fruition. This website was called The Unfunny Truth About Scientology, and instead of memeing or making fun of the religion, it goes over some of the more serious controversies. The website is essentially a video slideshow of some of the church's misbehaviors, along with some of their extreme beliefs. One belief in particular is that anyone who isn't part of the church should be injured without repercussions. The website details some of the gruesome deaths people have had after getting involved in Scientology, and all of the deaths seem to be pointing towards Scientology's wrongdoings. Lisa McPherson was a huge donor to the Church of Scientology and an active member. She was later brought to a hospital by the Church of Scientology after staying on their grounds for some time. They made sure to take a long detour to find a hospital with a Scientologist doctor. When she finally got there, she was pronounced dead, with cockroach bites all over her body. She was also underweight, extremely dehydrated, and with multiple bruises. Josephus Havneth was another unfortunate member of the Church of Scientology. After being prescribed unknown medications and checking into a hotel to visit one of the main churches, there seemed to be flooding coming from his room. He was later found dead in the bath after multiple days with burns all over his body. The water was supposedly so hot that it burnt right through his clothes. There was but one note outside his room that solemnly said, "Sleeping." The website also details one of the grim ways Scientologists usually fund their organization. They would extract all or most of the money from their victims, selling them packages to, quote, help them. The victim would either fall into their own demise, or the Church of Scientology would do its best to make sure there was no one left after their money was fully extracted, whether that be they die or get absorbed into the organization. This website illustrated that the Church of Scientology was pure evil, and that they would be getting away with both murder and the destruction of people's lives. But how did they do this, especially without getting caught? They would use scare tactics, and most importantly, leagues of highly qualified legal teams. Essentially, they saw themselves as untouchable, well, so they thought. It was finally time to show the world the monstrous things that Scientology has done. And as the date approached, users throughout the internet spread the news. Soon, many internet enjoyers from various communities would temporarily join the ranks to help in efforts to fight Scientology. The Church of Scientology would take these threats extremely seriously. They released a multitude of statements regarding the video and the planned protests alike. This weekend, we do anticipate that some members of the group, Anonymous, will turn up, as they have announced. We take this seriously because of the nature of the threats that this group has made publicly. We will take every step necessary to protect our parishioners and staff, as well as members of the community, in coordination with the local authorities. As to our knowledge of the organizers of the event, they are cyber terrorists who hide their identities behind masks and computer anonymity. Anonymous' alleged free speech justification is believed by the fact that the video in question has been seen by millions. It is Anonymous that has repeatedly attempted to suppress free speech through illegal assaults of the church websites, as to prevent internet users from obtaining information from the church. They have also engaged in other harassment, including threats of telephone calls, fax transmissions, and emails, and not to mention the anonymous mailing of white powder to dozens of our churches, requiring the services of law enforcement. Religious bigotry of any nature is deplorable and profoundly affects the entire community. The hate crimes of Anonymous should be condemned. The Church of Scientology did its utmost to label the internet goers and fans anonymous as cyber terrorists. They wanted to get ahead of the curve in case the protests actually occurred, especially if it would eventually reach mainstream media. They wanted to frame themselves as the victims to sway public opinion in their favor. Along with this, the organization also wanted to deter people from actually coming to the event in hopes the protest would be just another internet flop. Although, unbeknownst to them at the time, it was already too late for the Church of Scientology. Their efforts would prove to be unfruitful.
Scientology is much more dangerous. News 10's Dan Klein reports some spent the day in protest.
This is not about the personal beliefs and ideas of Scientology and the people who practice it. This is about the ethics that the management and the people in charge of Scientology practice. This is for Lisa McPherson and everyone else who's died at the hands of Scientology.
We are anonymous and we're protesting the illegal actions of Scientology Church. We have no problem with their beliefs in and of themselves, but we don't want to support their illegal activities any further.
The event was a massive success. Around 7,000 internet users from around the world in 100 different cities gathered near Scientology buildings to protest and to shine some light upon some of their wrongdoings. Most of them wore Guy Fawkes masks to show their allegiance to the anonymous group. Even after the initial protests, there would be plans to continue for the next few months. These other protests would also be successful, with a planned protest happening a couple times a month. The Church of Scientology did its best to fight back. They hired private investigators to dox some of the protesters, and they attempted to sue various individuals that were identified. They would also lure protesters onto the Scientology property to get them in trouble with the law for trespassing. They even slashed tires, destroyed property, threw eggs at protesters, and Scientologists even went as far as supposedly killing protesters' pets. Although, luckily, many of the Scientologists' attempts to get protesters in trouble with the law would prove to fall short. Overall, Project Chanology was a massive success. The elite group Anonymous was now on the horizon of becoming something notable in history. They were mostly known for their trolling, but now society saw them as much more than just that.
With Chanology, Anonymous, which collected different individuals on the internet, they organized to engage in a more traditional activist endeavor. And this was in 2008, where that transition from pure internet pranking to a kind of irreverent activism was born.
Along with the development of the group Anonymous, Project Chanology wreaked havoc on the Church of Scientology. Instead of allowing Scientologists to continue to operate in the shadows, the protests brought Scientology to the main spotlight of the media, which is what the church wanted to avoid at all costs. Along with this, the public saw Scientology as a villain, which would create an everlasting bruise on their reputation. Even though the Church of Scientology's members were declining since the protests, they still possessed some of their tax exemptions, which is the lifeblood of the organization. As Mark Bunker, or Wise Beardman, once said, if you take away the Church of Scientology's tax exemption status, that's when you really do some damage to them.